How should Christians think about in vitro fertilization? The subject of in vitro fertilization, or IVF, has been much in the news lately. There's a huge moral and ethical issue to be considered. As Christians, we need to think clearly on this subject with our minds instructed from the Word of God. First of all, there's the issue of abortion. When a lady decides to use in vitro fertilization to have a baby, a number of eggs are harvested from her body and fertilized outside the womb. The problem lies with the unused embryos. They're usually kept frozen. But for how long? There are currently over 600,000 embryos in storage. This is troublesome since these are living human beings. To destroy them is to unjustly take a human life, which is murder. Another troublesome issue is the rise of selective screening. Technology now exists for designer babies through genetic selection. This is entering into territory human beings have no right to enter. Knowing the sinful propensity of man, one can only imagine the dark paths human engineering could take in pursuit of the perfect baby. The practice of eugenics in the past has never turned out well. In vitro fertilization serves to support such research. And should the government be involved in matters of fertility and reproduction? In vitro fertilization is not an easy subject to consider. It's hard to fault a couple who have tried years to conceive with no success. They've tried multiple fertility tests and procedures to no avail. IVF seems like a viable option. After all, they're using eggs from the wife and fertilizing them with her husband's sperm, and then carefully placing one or more of them in the uterus to develop. How can we fault this approach to successfully having a baby? But does the end always justify the means? Just because we can do something does not necessarily mean we should. Pragmatism is often the rule of our generation. The important thing in the minds of most is the desired outcome. This has led to the perversion of worship, making it more appealing to the lost, or changing the gospel to make it less offensive. It is the mentality of whatever works. In vitro fertilization can produce a baby, but is it a biblical option? Can we rely on the procedure to produce life that may result in the taking of life? Can we trust technology without considering the ethical aspect? And can we justify the practice of genetic selection? We're not talking about mere human tissue. We're talking about human beings created in the image of God that should be afforded all the dignity and value that God has given them. Does the desire of a baby justify discarding of the unused embryos? Can we just store them indefinitely? But what if the procedure is used in a manner that produces only the embryos that will be used? Does this validate the procedure? We must never forget that God opens and closes the womb. He has ordained the means of procreation, the union of a husband and wife engaged in the intimate expression of their love. Calling into question the practice of in vitro fertilization is not meant to condemn those who have conceived using this method, nor reduce the humanity and dignity of the child produced. But we have every reason to consider the question of the practice of this means of reproduction. Lucas Stamps, in a recent article, posed some questions that we should ponder. Are we begotten or made? Is life the fruit of human love, or is it the product of human ingenuity? Do we find our origin in our parents' natural union or in a laboratory scientist? The desire for children can be great. Rachel's complaint to Jacob was stirring. "Give me children or I die." But producing children using IVF is a subject that demands great wisdom and careful consideration.